What's up, cucks? It's Monday night, which means it's time for another video from the hater. Talking to you today about Monday Night Raw. Let's just get right to it, okay? This a lot to say about this episode. I took some pretty good notes. I watched it like after it started, so I was skipping around, but I finished like around 11:30, so that's when the tune is being recorded. So not that late. You know, I was doing some work and then I was hanging out and ordered some food, got ready, relaxed, got myself locked in for a nice episode of your Monday night show, Raw Wrestling, the A show, fuck faces. You understand me? So anyways, I start the show. The theme song starts. The song by Skillet. Never gonna break me down, you never break me down. So you know I'm hyped as shit because now we got this show on the road after the theme song starts. And then all of a sudden, Becky Lynch comes out. So around this time, I'm thinking to myself, hater, you must have clicked on the DVR button on your Verizon TV remote, and you must have chosen last week's episode because last week's episode started with Becky Lynch coming out and cutting the exact same promo. So I double check. No, yeah, it's this week's episode. Becky Lynch comes out, cuts a promo, and it's the same Becky Lynch promo. I'm here for a fight. I'm here for a fight. I don't give a bollocks. I'm here for a fight in Boston because I'm Irish. I'm here for a fight. And it's the dumbest shit ever, right? And then this doesn't last long, thankfully, because the Iconics come out looking fatter than ever. Let's be honest, guys. Come on. Especially Billy Kay. Jesus Christ. Drop a few, sweetheart. So anyways, they come out. And for no reason whatsoever, they're like mad at Becky because they're left out of Survivor Series. And then Becky Lynch says, I'm supposed to have a tag match with Charlotte. Charlotte comes out immediately. Charlotte's like, Becky, I know you don't want to tag with me. I don't want to tag with you. But basically, I can't let you have all the fun because the powers that be made it so we have to team together. So the match starts. But right before the match starts, just as you think things can get any fatter, Samoa Joe comes out. So I'm thinking to myself, what the hell's going on? Why is Samoa Joe out? Right? He's not a broad. Or is he, fuckers? Or is he? Maybe Samoa Joe pulled a nice Heather Swanson and now he's a broad. And he's here to join the women's division. Who knows? I didn't get any answers because it cut to commercial. So I skipped that some bitch commercial. I came back. Samoa Joe's on commentary because his arm is injured, people. He has an injured arm, which means that the only thing to do with him, that's right, is put him on commentary. Nobody considers just releasing him immediately and having him go back to like TNA or something where he might actually have a semblance of a career. No, he's going to be on commentary the entire night and it's going to be fucking atrocious. So anyways, match starts. Obviously, Becky and Charlotte beat the Jobber team. At a certain point, one of the announcers, Vic Joseph or whatever, he's like, the Iconics are, they're, and then Samoa Joe's like, just say it, Vic, or whatever. He just calls him out for being a shit commentator. And then the other one is like, oh, they're like the future, huh? And then Vic Joseph is like, they're the longest running women's tag team champions out of 3 teams, motherfuckers. So let's keep that in mind for a second, right? There's so many titles in WWE, and so many of them are like relatively new titles that everyone in WWE has some sort of like record, right? Like R-Truth is like a 20,000 time 24/7 champion. He's probably also the oldest 24/7 champion. The Iconics are the longest women's tag team champions. Nikki Cross is the only European tag team women's champion. Alexa Bliss is like the only woman to win it with a partner that she didn't know before last Wednesday. You know, the Kabuki Warriors are the only team to win the titles on a Tuesday night. Everyone has a record, and it's the most ridiculous thing ever. So the titles mean nothing. If everyone has a claim to having some sort of distinction as champion, the titles mean fuck all, motherfuckers. So anyways, after the match ends, Shayna Baszler and the 2 pigs from NXT come out, and they attack the Iconics who are already beaten down. But the purpose of this was for Shayna Baszler to call out Charlotte and Becky Lynch to go and whoop their ass. Charlotte and Becky Lynch turn around and get in the ring to get their asses beat by Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler just beats up Becky Lynch by herself, while the other 2 horse-faced women attack Charlotte. The NXT broads eventually run out and they jump into the crowd, right? Becky Lynch and Charlotte, but mostly Becky Lynch, follows into the crowd, right? Then there's like 5 security guards who are like telling Becky, no, like, you can't do this. So she finds the tallest one and punches him in the face, knocking him on his ass. Now, this is just, at this point, it's almost laughable, right? I mean, let's be real. Imagine if this happened in any other situation where like a 115-pound woman punched this guy who was like at least a foot and a half taller than her in the face. Now, I get it, of course. I am actually one of the old school motherfucks who doesn't believe that men should hit women unless like it's to defend themselves from like serious bodily harm, you know? So like, but in this climate where Becky Lynch can just go around punching people left and right, and the men just have to be there, Zelina Vega attacks every man that Andrade has a match with, and it's supposed to be this like, wow, isn't that great moment? Not for Zelina because she's a heel, but for Becky, it was presented as like a face moment, you know? It was like the announcers were like, oh, if I were Shayna Baszler, I'd be terrified. And I'm thinking to myself, the women's revolution, in my opinion, has only one logical conclusion, and that is this. After like the next pay-per-view where the main event is a women's match, the Dudley boys come out, Devon get the tables, and Bubba Ray puts Becky Lynch and maybe Charlotte and the Iconics and everyone through tables. Just one by one, boom, super bomb through tables. That's the only way that this thing can end logically because you cannot shift it this much. Back in the day, in the Attitude Era, and I don't want to sound all nostalgic up in this bitch, but I'm telling you like it is. In the Attitude Era, you had Chyna, arguably, in my opinion, the greatest female wrestler of all time. But definitely, I think in everyone's opinion, a top fiver, right? And Chyna was presented as a very masculine and very tall and very powerful woman. And the entire premise was that because of her superior physical stature as compared to the average woman and as compared to every woman in WWE at the time, it made some sense for her to go and wrestle the mid-card men, if you will. And even in the mid-card men, she'd be wrestling like Eddie Guerrero, Jericho, the smaller guys. She wasn't out there wrestling like, I don't know, Kane. I mean, she wrestled Kane too, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, it would be not feasible for her to beat up Kane, but all right. You know, she could beat up Jericho, who's about 5'9", or she can kind of have like a moment against a Hardcore Holly or a Val Venus, who were more like lower mid-card guys at the time. So that was something that even then, it was foolish. Chyna could go around and beat up a Jericho, but at the end of the day, she'd come out and try to stop the Stone Cold and get stunned immediately. Whereas now, Becky Lynch, this is like, she's the main eventer. She's like the number one person in the company. It's ridiculous. She's out there just pushing men, throwing John Cena out of rings. It's preposterous. John Cena's a guy that beat like Brock Lesnar clean at that Extreme Rules a few years ago. John Cena is arguably the greatest wrestler of all time, and Becky Lynch just throws him out of the ring like he's fucking Funaki or something. So anyways, I did not like the segment at all. I think that's clear. Next, we have the OC coming out. Their theme is awesome. I dig it a lot. Then, the match that's going to happen is going to be Karl Anderson versus Roberto Carrillo. So, of course, you know, here's predictable match number 2 out of 2 tonight. Of course, Roberto Carrillo, the guy who's getting a singles push, is going to beat Karl Anderson, the generic guy who's just in a tag team and who is presented as significantly inferior to AJ Styles. Him and Gallows are clearly significantly inferior. It's just like when they had the Radicals and you had Chris Benoit was clearly the number one guy. Eddie Guerrero was like the lower mid-carder or mid-carder type. And then you had Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko who were out there feuding against like Al Snow. So that's what's happening with Karl Anderson. The only thing that was good about this segment and the subsequent match was that at one point, AJ Styles called Karl Anderson Hot Karl. Now, for anyone that doesn't know what Hot Karl is, I suggest you Google it because you will get yourself a laugh. And I'm going to tell you this. You're going to find different definitions. The real definition is the one that involves a sock, motherfuckers. So go and Google Hot Karl with a K, sometimes misspelled with a C, but it's Hot Karl with a K, and find the definition, maybe on Urban Dictionary, that involves a sock. That's the real one. So Hot Karl loses to Roberto Carrillo after it was actually a pretty competitive match. Hot Karl hits the spine buster, and then eventually he goes for a power bomb. Roberto Carrillo counters it. Some shenanigans happen. Karl Anderson has him in like a small package after a distraction, but he's too close to the ropes, and Montez Ford pushes the small packaging the other way around. So Roberto Carrillo is on top of Karl Anderson, and Humberto wins 1, 2, 3 and celebrates like he just won the Royal Rumble or something. Roberto Carrillo, he is just another high-flying jobber. This guy just, like, when he was preparing to go for his underwhelming moonsault, he was selling his injuries like he got shot with a cannon, you know? And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Ricochet. It's the same thing with Neville when he was a face. It's the same thing with everybody, except for maybe Jeff Hardy once in a while, where they have this thing where where they're just like, oh, I'm so hurt. I don't know if I can make it to the top rope and win this match. It has to be dramatic. And that might work if you're doing something amazing on the top rope. Like, all right, if Mustafa Ali's doing that, which he does all the time, by the way, all right, fine, you're gonna do a 450, or even Ricochet, you're gonna do a 630. But Roberto Carrillo does a moonsault. This is a move that Kurt Angle did for free, and he did it way better than any luchador I've ever seen in my life. Kurt Angle has the best moonsault in the history of moonsaults. It's not even close, motherfuckers. Just think about how good Kurt Angle is. He's by far the best technical guy ever, and he can do the best moonsault ever, and he's a legitimate athlete, and he's just a freak of nature. So there you go. That's the difference. We've gone from Kurt Angle to Roberto Carrillo with the inferior moonsault that he uses as a finisher. And for Kurt Angle, it was at best a signature move that he would always miss. And even when he missed it, he would hit flat. He would not pussy out of it. It was awesome. So that match ends. No one really cares. Next, we go backstage, motherfuckers, and we have Seth Rollins cutting a pretty decent promo. I'm not going to lie. He's cutting a promo about how Tom Brady is like basically the GOAT, and Tom Brady is the GOAT, motherfuckers. You have to deal with that. You have to deal with facts. So he's like, Tom Brady's the best. Half the world wants to see him fall. Remind me of anyone? I'm like, oh, that's kind of clever. He's putting himself over. But then he ruins the entire promo by ending it with the nonsensical burn it down. He's like, I'm going to do what I do best and burn it down. Really? Is that what you do best? Because I thought what you do best was have meaningless feuds. So anyways, he cuts a promo, and it's going to be him versus Andrade later on. The winner of that, becomes the captain of the Survivor Series team. Obviously, Seth Rollins is already the captain, and we all knew he wasn't going to be replaced as captain. But nonetheless, I was looking forward to the match because I like Andrade, and Rollins can put on a good match, so I was looking forward to it. But with a grain of salt. And as I mentioned, as this Raw review keeps going, a lot of predictable shit. Then we have Lashley versus No Way Jose. This is obviously predictable, but it's clear that how it's going to end. They're not trying to hide anything. Lana cuts a promo about how Rusev is a cuck, and she and Lashley want to move on. I'm like, what? A few weeks ago, Rusev said, let's move on, and put the ring in Lashley's mouth, and they just keep provoking Rusev. And apparently, Lana got a restraining order. She said Rusev can be within 90 miles of her. And then Bobby Lashley corrects her, and she says it's 90 feet. They played this off as if it was like part of the skit, but it wasn't. I just think Lana really thought that she was supposed to say 90 miles. That's not how restraining orders work, number one. And two, you have to have a good reason. The reason for a restraining order cannot be I cucked my husband on TV and then my new boyfriend just beats him up once in a while. I guess the reason was that he attacked him in the restaurant. I'm sure she mentioned it, but I wasn't really paying attention. But he didn't attack him in the restaurant in Massachusetts, I don't think, at least, right? That would be weird if they just came back to Massachusetts from twice in a month. So that's not how jurisdiction works. So that was really dumb. But whatever. The match happened. Lashley won. It was a fun, I gotta say it is. These squash matches have a purpose. And Lashley is the perfect guy to have squash matches because he is a monster. And I like Lashley. I always have. Now, No Way Jose, I also like him. He's someone that he's a big guy. He's charismatic enough. I'm not saying he's this super charismatic guy, but he's someone that deserves a bit better than what he has. In a company filled with Mustafa Ali's and Buddy Murphy's who are completely interchangeable. I know I make this point every video, but it's a point that needs to be made. Interchangeable fucks like Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy and Roberto Carrillo and fucking Ricochet and a few others. There's no purpose. You don't need all of them. You don't need Cedric Alexander to ever win. Just have Cedric Alexander lose to No Way Jose. That's much better. At least you have some variety. What happened to Mojo Rawley going retarded and looking at himself in a mirror with a weird thing in his eye? What happened to that? I guess he went after the 24/7 title. That was his true motivation all along. Anyways, that match ends. It was what it was. Next up, Rollins versus Andrade. This actually was a pretty good match. It had some pretty good moments. Zelina does the Hurricane Rana. Rollins catches her and gently throws her on the ground. Referee sees this, tells her to get the fuck out. She leaves. The match continues. At this point, I'm thinking, of course, Rollins is going to win. Then, about like 20 minutes into the match or whatever, however long this match was, in the end, Lucha House Party comes out. I didn't notice that they were wearing SmackDown shirts, like off the bat. So I automatically assumed that WWE was finally doing what I've been saying they should be doing this whole time. And that is creating a Latino stable centered around Andrade. And I'm like, all right, what you do is this. You bring a Lucha House Party, you unmask all these jobbers next week, you give them real names, and then you have this like almost like an LAX, but obviously these guys cannot be like an LAX because they're all like, 4'9", so it doesn't make any sense. But you have like a Latino jobber, Latino jobber stable, just like I was saying about my idea for the Japanese stable, which I would call the East, which would be the exact same thing. The gimmick is simple. We're pissed off that you guys hold us back, and now it's basically LAX, right? So, but they come out, they attack Rollins, causing a disqualification, which means Rollins wins, which means Andrade gets screwed out of the captainship, if you will, of the Survivor Series team. Now, the problem with this, of course, is that this dispels my idea that this was going to be the beginning of some sort of stable, which was foolish of me to think. I accept. But then they go in, they attack Andrade, Rollins and Andrade team up, furthering the lack of kayfabe where people become friends all of a sudden to thwart off SmackDown. All of a sudden, Lucha House Party, who was on Raw until like 2 weeks ago, they're like proud SmackDown guys, like standing up for SmackDown. And Andrade, who was on SmackDown until a few weeks ago, is now a proud Raw guy, who wants to captain the team. It is what it is. It was really dumb. Rollins and Andrade like have unfinished business. Rollins says, "We'll do it again one day, kid." And I'm just like, why don't you just restart the match? And then, if you're really so keen on wrestling each other, just do it right now. It was a good match. But they ruined it. I didn't predict that this was going to be one of the matches that was going to be ruined by SmackDown, but I figured that it was going to end in a screwy finish because Andrade's in the middle of the push and Rollins was not going to lose to Andrade. So there you go. Next, we had a really good match, in my opinion. Buddy Murphy, who actually was part of a key distinction, fuckers. He was part of a good match, but the match was not good because of him. The match was good because of Akira Tozawa, who is, in my opinion, the best Japanese wrestler that they've had since the greatest Japanese wrestler of all time, period, Tajiri, motherfuckers. So just let's talk about Tajiri for like 1 minute. Tajiri was one of the greatest wrestlers ever. This guy had insane charisma. He was comical. He could kick you like a monster. He was part of the number one most important thing that makes a good wrestler, in my opinion, is being part of memorable feuds or memorable moments. And Tajiri has a lot of memorable moments. Number one, his entire shtick with William Regal. That was awesome. It was hilarious. Him pretending to defect to ECW and then saving Regal and then eventually being betrayed by Regal. That was awesome too. His whole thing with Tori Wilson, where he was her like unlikely boyfriend and then became this like abusive, like put on a kimono type boyfriend. That was awesome too. Then he had the thing where he spit the mist in what's her name? Nydia's eye. He spit the mist in Nydia's eye. That wasn't about him, of course, but he was the catalyst of that, and I remember him doing it. Then he had the short-lived stable with Sakota and fucking Jimmy Wang Yang, who was Akio at the time. That was cool too, because that was what I was trying to say they should do now. A heel Japanese stable. So there you go. Tajiri, one of the GOATs, by far. When he came back for the Cruiserweight Classic, that's the person I was the most excited about. I did not give a rat's ass about Zack Sabre Jr. because he wrestled some jabroni in England. I couldn't give a fuck. Tajiri was back, motherfuckers. That's all that mattered to me. So anyways, the match was really good because Tozawa carried this entire match. Tozawa did a bunch of cool moves. He was being promoted as this guy that had a chance. Obviously, Buddy Murphy was going to win because Tozawa came out of nowhere. And Buddy Murphy, like after getting his ass whooped by Tozawa, was doing all the good moves. Buddy Murphy hits like a bicycle knee, and then the Murphy's Law and wins. And then Smo Joe is just this entire time he has this like arrogant commentary demeanor. He's like, oh, look at that. It is no longer a best kept secret. And I'm like, shut up, Smo Joe. Not Samoa, motherfuckers. Smo. S-M-O-E space J-O-E. Smo Joe. Like Scott Steiner would say about the fat ass. So anyways, after that, it should be noted that before this match, Buddy Murphy was walking backstage and he comes across Aleister Black's dressing room. Like he's on the other side of the door and he like talks shit to Aleister Black and he's like, figured you don't have the balls. And he turns around and goes into another room. Aleister Black comes out all pissed off. Now, the real question here is, who the fuck is Aleister Black to have his own dressing room? He didn't even wrestle. So So where the fuck does this guy have a dressing room? Why is he even there? So anyways, that's going to be the next program, the next thing that nobody gives a shit about. So, and after the match, Buddy Murphy just finished the match, comes out, runs into Aleister Black, nothing happens. So that was that. Next, we have a quick little segment of Eric Rowan talking to the cage again. This was dumber than last week because if it had been done once and they turned it back into like the Vinter gimmick he had for a while, that'd have been cool. But no, they just kept up with the cage. Then this led into a match. Eric Rowan versus Darby Allin, motherfuckers. That's right, Darby Allin on Monday Night Raw. The Singh brothers come out being chased by R-Truth. Rowan double clotheslines them. R-Truth decides to cower away from the what's it called? The Singh brothers because Eric Rowan is intimidating. And Eric Rowan then grabs Darby Allin, throws him to the Singh brothers, does like a running crossbody to all three of them, throws Darby Allin to the ring, hits him with the Iron Claw chokeslam. 1, 2, 3, that's it. Now, afterwards, he gets the cage with a burlap thing on it, and he's like, oh, like he's talking to the cage, right? And let's just take a moment here to remember that Eric Rowan is the guy who holds the record for shortest WrestleMania match of all time, along with The Rock, when The Rock pinned him in about 6 seconds. So or was it 8 seconds? Who gives a shit? Point is, this guy was like a complete jobber, and now all of a sudden he's beating up Darby Allin, the big guy in AEW, you know? So anyways, and at one point after the match, Jerry the King Lawler, motherfuckers, he says, he's very curious, it seems to be, about Rowan's cage, and he says, whatever it is, or whoever it is. Now, I'm thinking to myself, whoever it is? What? Are you retarded? Or are you suggesting that there's some sort of human in there? And then I started thinking to myself, man, that is possible. It could be Marco Stunt. Marco Stunt could fit in that cage, probably. You know who else could fit in that cage? Sammy Guevara. A lot of AEW guys could fit in that cage. That should be the big reveal. He opens it and like it's just like a rat painted with like the AEW logo, and he's like, I could fit any AEW jobber in here. That'd be great. But they're not gonna do that. It's probably gonna be some weird rat, and then the announcers are gonna overplay like, oh my god, what is wrong with Rowan? He has a pet rat, or it's gonna be a snake or something like that. Oh, he has a pet. Oh, it's a lizard. Who gives a shit, man? It's a pet. If he can own it, that means it's legal. That means other people own it. That means it's not badass. It's stupid. Anyways, next up, we have a match that I skipped almost entirely. Kevin Owens versus Drew McIntyre. Now, normally, I'd give this match a shot, but I knew for a fact that this match was going to end in a screwy finish where there is no winner. Because Drew McIntyre, all his matches, and Kevin Owens, all his matches, end like that. They beat jobbers, and then they lose, motherfuckers. So there you go. The match was a back and forth situation. I noticed that there was a spot where both men had their feet on the ropes at different points. I kept fast forwarding it until Triple H came out. Then I rewound it to see if anyone won the match. No, Kevin Owens hits a second stunner, and he's taking his time to go pin Drew McIntyre. I think this is what happened. I didn't see a pin. So Triple H comes out and he's like, all right. And then commercial break, motherfuckers. After commercial, we come back. Triple H is in the ring. The match is inexplicably gone. And Triple H is like, Kevin Owens, you know, you're like wrestling for people that don't want you. They took you from NXT. You didn't want to go. They took you. And now they realize they don't want you. And I'm like, dude, Kevin Owens was drafted in the draft like a few weeks ago. He was in like a third round or something. So of course they want him. Why wouldn't they want him? Why would they draft him if they didn't want him? That doesn't make any sense. So Triple H is like, he's out there with a bunch of NXT guys. And he's like, all right, Kevin Owens. He's like, I'm not here to like beat you up with my NXT guys. You know, I'm here to just like talk. And he's like, but where are your Raw friends? They're not here they don't have your back. They don't care about you. At this point, like 3 Raw wrestlers come out, and new Michael Cole, Vic Joseph, says, the Raw locker room is emptying out. Emptying out? 3 fuckers came out. So they start fighting the NXT jobbers, and then more Monday Night Raw guys come, specifically the OC, they come out. So that was that. I was happy, I guess, to see that I was right, that this match was going to lead to nothing. This was the same exact thing as the earlier match between Andrade and Seth Rollins, especially because both these guys are on the Survivor Series team, I think. So that was the idea. The idea was like, oh, let's band together instead. But they didn't even band together because this was a Triple H moment. So it was what it was. Next up in the back, we have Charlie versus Roberto Carrillo, saying that AJ will defend against Roberto Carrillo on Monday after Survivor Series, motherfuckers. which means most likely Roberto Carrillo is going to win. Now, I cannot imagine this idiot as any kind of champion, let alone the U.S. champion, which is like the title that is defended all the time on Raw, right? With Brock Lesnar gone, Bray Wyatt pretty much gone, we have to look to Nakamura and Roberto Carrillo to be the people that matter if Roberto Carrillo wins. It is ridiculous. So anyways, after that, we have a little thing from Paul Heyman via satellite. Paul Heyman declares that now Ray versus Brock is going to be a no-holds-barred match. And I'm calling it right now, motherfuckers. What happens is this. Cain Velasquez comes, and they have a mini brawl, or he just distracts Brock Lesnar right before Brock Lesnar is about to pin Rey Mysterio after an F5. And then while everything, Brock Lesnar is distracted, we get a nice run-in from, you guessed it, motherfuckers, Dominic! He comes in, he attacks Brock Lesnar, gets revenge, and I believe that there is a chance that Rey Mysterio might win. And that would be a moment that I would mark out for, because if there's anyone other than Christian, Rey Mysterio is the guy that has deserved a WWE title run that is more than like 1 hour. It can even be 1 day, I don't care. But he deserves to go home with the WWE title once and be like, I'm champion. That's all, man. But hopefully he has like a pretty decent run if he wins it. But I mean, I don't think he's going to win, but there's a chance now. Now that it's no holds barred, the possibility of Dominic coming out is relatively high. So, I look forward to that a little bit. Then we had Asuka versus Natalya. Asuka wins with a kick to the head. No one cares. Then earlier in the night, Randy Orton was talking to Charlie Caruso, and he's like, Charlie, I hear the War Raiders, the Viking Raiders, are looking for a fight. Because what was going to happen was it was going to be them versus Hawkins and Ryder, but Hawkins and Ryder got attacked by AOP, so they're out. And Randy Orton's like, I hear they're looking for a fight. So what I'm led to believe is that after Hawkins and Ryder were attacked, it's somewhere in the back, these two idiots who think they're Vikings were walking around saying, we're looking for a fight. Who wants to fight us? And Randy Orton says, I'm going to be out there. And if they're like man enough, they can come fight me. So automatically, it's going to be Randy Orton and Ricochet, obviously. It's the same thing that happened last week where Randy Orton stood up for Ricochet. Now Ricochet is going to stand up for Randy Orton. So at the end of the match, at the end of the show, I should say, the beginning of the match, Ricochet comes out as predicted. They have a match. Before they go to commercial break, they show Rude, Ziggler, and I think Cesaro, it could be some other jobber, attacking people backstage. Match comes back. Another screwy finish, motherfuckers. Another, interference type finish. One element of this that was kind of interesting was when everyone comes out, there's a point where it's AJ Styles in the ring, surrounded by NXT jobbers, and he gets kneed in the face by Roderick Strong. And I thought Roderick Strong would hit the end of Heartache, kind of push forward their feud, but no. At this point, I would want AJ Styles to win because AJ Styles is the best one out of Nakamura and Roderick Strong and himself. But because he's going to lose to Roberto Carrillo, I'm actually hoping that Nakamura, I can't believe it, I'm hoping that Nakamura wins because I've always been a SmackDown guy, and I'd like for Nakamura to have some sort of direction or be fired. So there you go. Now, a couple of things, fuckers. First of all, be on the lookout for my next video, which is going to be an in-depth look at the WWE roster and who I would keep and who I would fire. Spoiler alert, fuckers. The majority of them will be released by the hater. So, there you have it. I didn't even realize Survivor Series was this week, so look forward to that video. Of course, look forward to the, Wednesday Night Dynamite there, Taz, who now works for AEW. Look forward to that. And the Royal Rumble, the Survivor Series, I'm probably going to watch that on Monday before Raw or something because I'm going out of town on Sunday with a friend to watch some comedy, motherfuckers. He's taking me out for part of my birthday present. So that's going to be a good time. So I'm going to be back really late. And I don't know if I'll, even if I start watching Survivor Series, I don't think I'd be able to I'll probably get home at 2 or something. If I start watching it, I'll be done at 5 in the morning. So Monday's a work night. Not going to happen most likely, but look forward to that on Monday. I try to do my videos as soon as I can. I try to one of my goals is to just have it upload almost immediately after the show. And what I'm going to do, I think, I'm going to try it once or twice. I'm going to watch Raw, and as I watch it, I'm going to record segments of my review. But then I feel like it'll be a little too disjointed. So there you go. Look forward to who we're going to keep and who we're going to release video coming later tonight after this video. And also, look forward to another 25 reasons why someone sucks ass video. The thing is, I don't know who it's going to be. So if anyone has any suggestions as to who I should talk about in 25 reasons they suck, I'll be more than happy to listen, motherfuckers. Write it in the comments if that's what you want to does. All right, fuckers. With that being said, go and fuck yourselves and look forward to more haters. Motherfuckers!